Global Cannabis Applications Corp has a new technology-based platform that can aggregate data about cannabis and help us learn more about what it can be used for. And it's just good for the whole industry. So with me is the CEO of the company, Brad Moore. Brad, welcome.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks for having me.
So let's start with this platform. You've got Efixi. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, Efixi.
Okay. Explain the platform, what it does, and how can we benefit from it?
Sure. So Efixi is there are 5 interlocking technology. Efixi is like a takeoff of the word efficacy. Our whole focus is on patient efficacy. We know that growers in the past have been able to produce a lot of products in the ground. But if you're going to say something's medical, there's 2 things that have to happen. The product has to be consistently produced, and then it has to be measured, right? And so the measurement is the efficacy part. So by using a combination of mobile technologies, blockchain, algorithms that we've developed with some of the leading algorithmic scientists in Israel, we've been able to put together what we call not a seed to sale solution, but a seed to sale to seed. So that means a full cycle of data all the way for every growing gram. So we start by measuring it with our partners from Purity IQ. Then for every batch that's going from that, we compare that batch to make sure it's consistent. We track it all the way through the life cycle, the development, simple seed to sale stuff. And then we attach consumer efficacy to it, and we feed it all the way back and run it through algorithms to determine what is the best potential product for a consumer.
Now, is this the first end-to-end cannabis data solution?
Well, I hope so, because I've got a patent pending on it. So we'll cross our fingers and find out about that. But yeah, it's from what we've seen. Look, we've been in this game since 2017, right? And we spent, my gosh, 2018, I must have spent like 7 months in Israel looking at it. And it's besides great food and the Mediterranean, they're huge leaders in technology. And when you look at the Israeli system, what you're going to actually see is they have 20 years. Every growers and cultivators are all attached to R&D facilities. So it's about the consumer, and that's critical. And, I've been in this industry around enough, and we made enough investments to see how much growers have actually really kind of controlled the sway. And you've seen that in Canada. So when we went to legalization, we just said, okay, it's like the end of prohibition. Now you can go buy it in the liquor store. They're a Canadian version. But really, what we were talking about before, if you took this product, what's the difference? What defines this product as medical or recreational? And that's what we're actually focused on. And so by just using our technology and putting a simple QR code system on the top, where a consumer can take their phone and scan it and see everything there is to do with it and what's going to work best, that's hugely innovative. The level of data around that in terms of consumer trust, and for regulators, for countries that really want to get in to make it a real true medical product and a program, this level of data that we're doing is unprecedented. And that's why we did the Health Canada. We applied for the non-possession seller's license in Canada, is we're going to work with Canadians, and we're going to get them to say, hey, you know what, Mr. Grower, you can have our business, but we want to know that this product is driven by Efixi and the Purity IQ partnership, right? And if we can do that, we can actually make a difference.
Yeah. Well, it seems like the data has been missing from this industry. How was data collected in cannabis prior to this?
Well, it's interesting. It's always been there, but just take a look at COVID. Did we not have information about a lot of things that are going on, but it's been all over the place. So it's really about data aggregation, right? And it's about data focus. I always make the joke that my grandmother from Ireland used to say potatoes would be good for knee swelling. I'd say, well, grandma, maybe that potato would, but it's still a potato. So at the end of the day, the next one out of the ground could be 100% different. It's a living organism. So how do we do that, right? And so the very first thing is creating that fingerprint.
So explain the process then. Let's say I'm a cannabis farmer. I mean, how do I get involved with the platform? Where does it go from here? And how can a consumer know that that data they've got is accurate?
Yeah, for sure. So there's always a couple of things, right? And that's the reason, like I said, we've focused on, when we were looking at Canada, everybody talks about Canada and cannabis. And when you take a look at it, At the end of the day, you still have, for example, if you want to buy something, you still have to get a hold of a clinician. You have to do your research, or they make recommendations, and they're still just looking at product sheets. That doesn't mean that every product out there is going to be tracked and traced using our solution all the way from seed, what we call seed to seed. But what it does mean is that we're going to start educating. We're going to start educating consumers about that QR code. That's the key thing here. Can you imagine this? Imagine finding a product, it's got a QR code, you scan it with your phone, and you can see everything about all the data that was ever took to make that. And most importantly, your peers, what they're saying about that product. All growers have to do for us, it's very simple. And I'll use Canadian numbers here. So for example, if all the way from a grower to a distributor to a retail, because everybody has to be involved in this. The cost on an $8 product, a fully burdened cost on that to work with us is 8 cents. Or sorry, is 20 cents on an $8 product. Are you going to tell me that for 20 cents on an $8 product that you don't want to have that to drive more business, build consumer confidence?
Okay, well, I mean, it makes sense. So thank you so much, Brad, for coming in. Best of luck, and join us again later this year and we'll get an update.
Thank you so much for having me.